Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Russ Riesinger. We'll check in with Janelle in just a moment. Americans hoping for help from Congress as the number of COVID-19 cases continue to spread. It's a situation changing by the minute. Right now, there are 55,041 cases in the U.S., according to the Johns Hopkins Coronavirus Research Center, resulting in some 790 deaths now. There are 5 new confirmed cases here in Montana, bringing our total to 51. 8 of those are here in Yellowstone County. Wyoming now has 29 cases in the state. There have been no deaths reported in either Wyoming or Montana. Well, Congress is getting closer to voting on a $2 trillion stimulus package to help American workers and businesses impacted by coronavirus. That move comes as President Trump says he wants the country back up and running as soon as Easter. Skylar Henry has the latest from Capitol Hill.
President Trump wants the U.S. open for business again in a matter of weeks.
Easter is a very special day for many reasons. And what a great timeline this would be.
But members of his own White House coronavirus task force are signaling caution.
You can look at a date, but you've got to be very flexible. And on a literally day-by-day and week-by-week basis, you need to evaluate the feasibility of what you're trying to do.
The president's remarks come as the number of U.S. coronavirus cases continues to accelerate. New York State is the epicenter of the pandemic, with more than half the nation's cases.
New York is the canary in the coal mine. We have the highest and the fastest rate of infection. What happens to New York is going to wind up happening to California and Washington State and Illinois. It's just a matter of time.
New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio is urging the administration to rush in more medical equipment.
We are all racing against time. We need our federal government to join us in that race against time.
Negotiations are continuing here on Capitol Hill on a $2 trillion stimulus package that'll help American workers and companies.
This package will be the single largest Main Street assistance program in the history of the United States.
It provides $500 billion in loans for big businesses, nearly $400 billion in grants and loans for small businesses.
This is a great plan.
The bill includes a one-time cash payment for most working Americans, up to $1,200 for individuals, $3,000 for the average family. It also expands unemployment insurance from 26 weeks to 39 in most states, boosting benefits by $600 a week. Wall Street rallied on the news, surging more than 2,100 points, or about 11%, its biggest one-day percentage gain since 1933. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
The Federal Reserve announced it will suspend some of its bank advisory activities, giving banks more flexibility in dealing with financially strapped customers. Well, Montana still with a relatively small number of cases compared to other places in the U.S., but that number, as you saw, is growing. Governor Steve Bullock taking more action today. Janelle Slade listened in on that news conference and has more on the steps the governor is taking to try and keep us safe.
Russ, Governor Bullock says the numbers will go up. Now, he stresses we all have an obligation to set a good example. We need to practice social distancing and avoid large groups of people. As for slowing the spread of the COVID-19 in Montana, the governor taking some steps. First of all, the order to close non-essential businesses and schools is being extended to April 10th. For now, Bullock wants to hold off on shutting down schools for the rest of the school year.
Some have asked, why don't I just close down the schools for the rest of the year? Or conversely, when I say 2 more weeks, am I confident that life will be back to normal in 2 weeks? I don't think it would be wise or serve the best interests of Montanans at this time to make decisions that'll have finality for what Montana might look like 8 or 10 weeks down the road.
So 2 more weeks added onto the order to close schools and non-essential businesses. Now, the governor also announced gatherings are now limited to no more than 10 people. It was a recommendation before, but now it's an order.
For every person who stays at home or avoids large crowds, the better our chances to fight this virus and protect our frontline healthcare workers and emergency responders.
Now, the governor also talked about preparations being made, taking a look at how some patients could be transferred home to free up hospital beds if needed. He also says more supplies are on the way, including 50,000 masks and 4,000 swab tests. Now, the main thing he continues to stress is that we take this seriously. He says the actions we take today will make a huge difference in lessening the spread here in Montana. Russ.
All right, thank you, Janelle. Wyoming's governor also announcing new restrictions today in an attempt to keep the COVID-19 virus from infecting more people. That order is aimed at businesses where social distancing is not practical. Hair salons and barber shops, nail salons, massage parlors, and tattoo parlors are all being closed. Medically necessary services such as physical therapy providers may remain open. That order goes into effect tomorrow and runs through April 3rd. Now, we checked in with School District 2 Superintendent Greg Upham today to get his thoughts on the extension of school closures and the next steps for Billings. The superintendent urged parents to contact their school to access learning resources for special needs students. Now the question centers around the end of school.
You know, the biggest question was, is the closure going to be extended? Yes, the closure's been extended. You know, now the question is, what do you think about the end of school? I don't know. I appreciate what the governor's doing. He's taking this in 2-week increments. The closure through April 10th follows John Felton's directive for Yellowstone County. I'm supportive of that. Being consistent is critical with that. But I think it's just we're still watch and wait, but we are preparing and having conversations about if this closure would extend through the rest of the school year.
Upham has been providing updates to parents and teachers on the district website and Facebook page. School District 2 continues to provide breakfast and lunch service at 4 locations and 5 mobile food trailers. So far, the district has served almost 9,000 meals. And while Montana public schools are now closed until at least April 10th, Catholic schools in Montana will be closed until at least the first week of May. According to a letter from Bishops Michael Warfel and Austin Vetter, Montana Catholic schools will remain closed until at least May 4th in order to help prevent the spread of COVID-19. Remote instruction will continue to happen during this time period. Well, if you call 911 here in Yellowstone County, there are some new questions that you must answer. Along with the location and the type of emergency, dispatchers and first responders will also ask if the patient is experiencing flu-like symptoms. Billings Fire Chief Bill Rash says although the question is generic, it helps responders avoid COVID-19 exposure. Chief Rash also says callers could be placed on hold because dispatchers are trying to prioritize emergencies. There are already, as we told you, 8 cases of positive coronavirus here in Yellowstone County. At least 2 of those cases are healthcare workers. Well, if you've been laid off due to coronavirus uncertainty, unemployment benefits are on the way. That's the latest from the Department of Labor. High demand overloaded the state website, but as Q2's Andrea Lutz reports, not for long.
Montanans trying to file for unemployment were met with worry and frustration as they got to the site and found out that it was down because of heavy traffic. Well, now those with the Department of Labor say that they've been feverishly working to get the site back up and running.
So we've had unprecedented numbers, as you know.
Brenda Nordland with the Montana Department of Labor and Industry says over 13,000 claim filings started to overload the website last week. This as restaurants and businesses all across Montana closed their doors to prevent the spread of the coronavirus.
Completely unprecedented.
Thousands of workers now out of a job for the foreseeable future. And because of that, MontanaWorks.gov was overloaded and overwhelmed by a capacity it's never seen before.
We put all of our resources that we could into stabilizing MontanaWorks.gov.
Those filings were met with a slow and sometimes unresponsive web page. But that being said,
so a lot of folks got pushed through, even though they did encounter intermittent, recurring, and frustrating interruptions in service.
Nordland says a team worked for 36 hours straight to strengthen the site. And on Sunday and Monday alone, 12,000 requests for payment were pushed through.
I can't imagine how many are feeling and how frightened they may be. But please know that the UI team and the Department of Labor will bend over backwards to try and serve your needs.
Nordland says even if you still get on the site and you find that it's slow, not to worry, because they'll backdate your claim to ensure that you still get paid. In Billings, Andrea Lutz, MTN News.
Thanks, Andrea. And just last week, Montana implemented emergency rules to make unemployment benefits accessible to workers laid off due to COVID-19. The state also waived the one-week waiting period to receive benefits. As many as 50 food and beverage business owners and managers checked in with Yellowstone County Public Health Officer John Felton this afternoon. That call hosted by the Billings Chamber of Commerce, and the big topic: how long will the county-wide closure remain in effect? Q2's Jay Cohn was able to listen in and joins us now from his home office.
A very interesting and frank discussion with John Felton today as we learn more about this COVID-19 virus and our local response to it. Felton stressed that deciding to close down all the bars, restaurants, and casinos in Yellowstone County was among the toughest decisions he's ever made in decades in the field of public health. First, regarding how long the closure will last, this was the big question. Well, some of those on the call today worried that the closure would be lifted too soon. Right now, it's in effect through April 10th. The owner of the pub station said he's in the business of people gathering, and he's concerned if it gets lifted too soon that we'll be right back to square one. The owner of the Montana Club said he was frustrated over the fact that each city and county seem to be implementing their own closure orders, different time frames. Felton said he understood the frustration, but said public health officers like himself represent just one county. There was also concern about the spacing involved with social distancing, the capacity size. Owners were wondering, would their capacity size be impacted down the road, perhaps permanently? Felton said, well, at least for the time being, when the pandemic starts to get over and we get back to some form of normalcy, social distancing is still going to have to be the norm. So he felt capacity size for the time being would be condensed. Felton said, one bit of good news along the question of cleaning, that many of the common wipes and sprays work well against COVID-19. In fact, he says one of the most effective is the old bleach solution that perhaps the grandma passed down over the years. He said that's one of the best things. Also, Felton said once the casinos are allowed to reopen, there's going to be a spacing issue and perhaps a new protocol for cleaning the machines, maybe once after each customer per machine. And of course, the machines will have to be spaced out further, which means fewer machines per casino. I guess it's all part of this brave new world that we're all living in. So for now, that's it here from the home office. Back to you guys.
All right, thank you, Jay. The Chamber invited local media and businesses to take part in today's call. Yellowstone and Grand Teton National Parks are now shut down, effective immediately. The parks are closed to all visitors until further notice. Highways within the park that support commerce will stay open. This comes after health officials from counties surrounding Yellowstone National Park made the request. County leaders saying that move will reduce non-local traffic in large groups and also help protect the small local health care system. Now, here in this community, medical experts reminding us all once again, if you're feeling symptoms of the coronavirus, do not go straight to the emergency room. We touch base with Dr. Brad Fuller this afternoon for an update.
Right now, we're trying to keep the emergency departments free of questionable cases. If somebody is ill, they've got a fever, they've got a cough, they're short of breath, their oxygen levels are low, definitely we would want them to seek emergency care. Call your doctor. If you don't have one, you can go to the walk-in clinic. We're fielding calls all the time, several times a day here in our office, and we can kind of give some guidance or direction over the telephone that way.
Well, still to come on tonight's 10 o'clock news, the secret is out. We're going to tell you who was behind the major push to get the Green Party on Montana's 2020 ballot. Plus, takeout food becoming a necessary go-to right now for many. We're going to find out just how safe it is. And in sports, we'll meet not one, but two athletes of the week. And I promise they'll melt your hearts.
You're watching MTN News with Janelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Breen. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.